And welcome to And Then We Fought a Dragon.
And then we fought a dragon.
I'm Becky,
I'm Desiree.
and we're here to talk about some D&D.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're keeping with the theme of Campaign 2 for today. We're finishing up an arc. And I'll get Des to summarize what happened last episode, then I'll tell you what happened next. So.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm anticipating, at least, I miss both campaigns a lot, but I really want to get to where we're at. So last time a lot happened. A lot of scary stuff happened. But we found out that Viper's a prince.
Yeah.
Went to the trees, and there's lots of secrets and a lot of oh, that makes sense now situations
things coming together. Yeah.
Lot of magic stuff. Spooky ookie magic. I personally was disappointed in the forbidden love plot that was not existent.
Which our message got through to our DMs. So, maybe we'll get some forbidden love in future arcs, who knows?
But also not necessary, because that's really out of character for me even. I just, in my head, I thought
funny, though.
It would be very funny. It just seems so out of place that it seems like the right choice.
We need some uber dramatic non-player characters that just have a forbidden love story that we can get super invested into and support. Yeah.
And so unexpected.
Yeah.
This is not the right time for that sort of situation.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyways, no forbidden love. Just really determined to get to the bottom of the deaths, or the very specific death of that oppositional. I can't remember all the details of who's involved because I don't write down the important stuff. I write down random words.
Really complicated. The tabaxi names are wild.
And my notes essentially are just riddles. That's
well, your notes could involve their names and you wouldn't realize it. It's because someone is wind and high grass and you're like, wait, that's a name? Yes, it is.
Exactly. So essentially, we're literally one of the notes is high wind.
That's one of the people.
Yeah.
So
here we are.
Perfect.
We're everything's very much true.
Coming together.
But I just wrote crime scene investigation and spooky ookie magic. And then
bad water.
Spooky ookie magic. And then I wrote blood magic, bad water, but especially spooky ookie bad water. Because there was some sizzling, foaming at the mouth.
The rock.
Oh,
there was the weird magic rock with the rune in it that was in the lakey, the rainforest beach, or what was I calling it? The swamp beach? I don't remember.
Yeah, I think so. So that's kind of the end. And usually, once again, we get to the end of the notes, but it's not really the end of what I just stopped.
It's when you got too enthralled.
Yes. And so it ends when I just accidentally forget what's going on. So there's a quick rundown. Not that it ever makes a lot of sense, but at least we have a kind of refresher of where we're starting from.
It's fun to remember. Yeah. So I'll fill in the blanks between when the notes stopped and where we're at today, which was we had the rock and had done some experiments creating bad water ourselves, and inflicted some animal cruelty on a small lizard that we found. And then healed it because we felt really bad. But then we went to go check out Highwind's house because he was out of his house. And Glenn and Viper found a secret path going out of his house down the tree. And just kind of going off into the woods away from the village, that it was clear it was only being used this way. It wasn't other people were coming in. So we stopped there when Glenn featherfalled us down to the ground, and we all magically parachuted and went to investigate the path. So that's where we pick up. So we follow this path for about an hour. It goes for quite a while, and we see large clusters of rock up ahead and a stream going into the mouth of a cave. So we head on in, all just not guns ablazing, really. We triggered a trap. We weren't paying attention and triggered a trap immediately as soon as we walked in, which really we should have been able to catch, but that's on us. So immediately
everything's fine. It's all fine.
Everything's
Everything's fine.
Except it all escalated really quickly. And suddenly these large elemental creatures that are like kind of red and liquidy appear and are fighting us. They're made of blood. And I told you it was going to be a rough one.
And so I didn't even have a weird thing with blood, but just the idea is so freaky.
So gross. Oh, playing this episode, I was like fake gagging the whole time. It was really gross.
You're far more affected by blood than me. How did you manage that?
And whenever these monsters like get all up in our space and like interact with us or like get on top of us, they're attacking our blood and like pulling it from our bodies. Like it's disgusting. So we had to fight them and kill them, and we're successful in doing so, though they were kind of like sucking us into little husks before we managed to kill them. And we sort of get the idea, like in D&D, there's these creatures known as elementals, where there's like air elementals, earth elementals, fire elementals, and water elementals, you know, the four elements. Yeah, exactly. I was just remembering them. But they're like these creatures made out of that element, and they're kind of very like, I guess, ancient creatures. They're sort of the very raw form of magic for that particular element. Okay. And so now that we're sort of aware of this whole lost school of magic, of the blood magic, these seem to be like a blood elemental type thing, which is gross and creepy, and we're not thrilled that they exist. So we head further into the cave now that we've killed them more cautiously, and start kind of investigating what's around there. And there are like these dead tabaxi and lizard folk in the cave that have clearly been killed by these blood monsters and like kind of sucked dry, essentially. They're gross. And
so they're like minks or weasels, the small rodents. That's how they kill chickens. I've woken up to go get eggs, and the chickens are sucked of their blood, and you can't tell why they died because they go under their feathers in their neck and they bite them and just suck them dry, and then they're kind of like shriveled and
what?
Yeah.
Seriously?
So that's actually a real thing, and it's also very sad when it happens in real life.
Disgusting and disturbing.
And scary when you're like, why is this chicken shriveled up and dead?
That's so creepy. Okay, well now we know what occurs in real life as well. Gross.
But the things that do it are really cute.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I love foxes, but man, are foxes devious. Like, those creatures. Anyway, we're getting a little distracted there. But yeah, essentially, they're dried out little chicken husks, but they are tabaxi and lizard folk husks.
Okay.
And not only that, but they're like chained to tables. Some kind of experiment was going on or something. This seems to sort of be giving mad scientist lab vibes a little bit. Not loving that. And we start, investigating further around them. There's a kiln area in one corner of the room, though it's not like warm, like there's been a fire recently, no fire in it, sort of thing. Glenn goes outside with Mako and Sumi to set up an alarm spell, which is essentially like a trigger trap.
Yeah.
Let us know if anyone is coming. So they set that up so that, the way we were caught by a trap, hopefully we can catch someone else with our own trap if anyone should be following us. And Viper kind of starts investigating these bodies to see what happens. And Nathaniel is looking at these kind of shelves that have books on them. And he finds this old tome bound in leather with arcane magic writing on it. And like it's thick, like a big book. And has abyssal writing, which is one of the like demon, devil, hell kind of languages. And Nathaniel can read that language. That doesn't necessarily mean anything in D&D. When you're setting up a character, you can kind of just choose random languages. So it doesn't always apply to a character being like, why do you read demonic languages? Okay. Are you a bad guy? So it's unrelated, but handy.
But knowing Nathaniel, he has a lot of
it could be related in Nathaniel for sure.
Why are you doing that?
In his might not be related, but also very much might be related.
Okay. Yeah, because he like absorbs people or something,
He
right?
sucks souls, and he has
Yeah.
like freaky skeletal wings, and like he's a bit of a weird guy,
Yeah.
but he's hot, so we forgive him.
Phew.
So this book has abyssal writing, which Nathaniel can read. So he starts kind of flipping through it. And sure enough, it's like essentially Blood Magic 101. And it's talking about this
What a
evil
terrible
entity.
book.
Yeah, terrible book called Auric. That is an entity that grants the power to control blood. Very evil aligned. Not a good guy. Not pretending to be a good guy. Very evil. And it's got like spells and rituals, and it likely contains the spell that was on that rock that we found that was polluting the water in the bog earlier. So Nathaniel's looking further around the shelves and finds like diaries and notes of studies and documentation of like 5 years worth of experiments that have been going on in this cave. And it sort of leads us to thinking that Highwind seems to be working with somebody. Like this amount of work isn't being done by one person, but there's no names to
This isn't a weekend hobby.
Yeah, no, this is committed to the bit. And they've been like studying and capturing lizard folk with intentionality, and one of the lizard folk sort of caught on to them and became aware of something happening to their people. And this was that lizard folk that was like Viper's mentor when he started learning how to do arcane magic. And that guy got killed, and that's when Viper kind of left and moved on and everything. So it's like all connecting, and like, you know, that meme of that dude with like all the points in the map, and he's like, ah! It's like that. We're having that moment where it's all connecting. And the experimenter doing all this blood magic was the one putting the Yanti onto the lizard folk village to kind of get rid of this lizard mentor and like prey on them essentially while they're stealing people away for their blood magic experiments. Yeah. So this person is a super bad guy, and we have to find and kill them.
Not just a bad guy, a super bad guy.
Super bad guy, 100%. And while Nathaniel's, you know, having his little book study there, I started to investigate the kiln and the fire area and poke around in the ashes and stuff. And it's just bones. It's just full of bones and burnt bones. And so it's horrible, and we hate it. So we decide to leave the cave and walk down the path a little bit, but then also stick around and see if we can like catch someone going into the cave, sort of thing, with our like alarm spell that's been put up and that. So we go down the path about a mile or so, head a little off, and then I cast the tiny hut so that we have a little bit of protection and can rest and take shifts watching and whatnot, because it's nighttime now. And Glenn's spell, part of how it works for the alarm is it will like make a noise in his brain telepathically or whatever, and like it'll wake him up, so we'll know as soon as someone goes in, so we can go to sleep. Sure enough, 2 hours in, Glenn is woken up. The alarm has been triggered, and he just
my brain bell is tingling.
He woke up Viper and I just to be like, do we want to do anything? And we were like, you know, we're like a mile away at this point. Let's just sleep and then deal with it when we're rested and have all our spells and stuff back and our health, because this is probably going to be a pretty powerful bad guy. And we don't want to go into it half powered and all that. So we go back to sleep and wake up after a long rest, and Glenn lets everyone know that his alarm did go off. Someone was / maybe still is there. And we decide we're going to leave and go back to Tall Trees and look for writings and journals and things in Highwind's hut and see if we can like connect him to this cave more explicitly, and then we'll present it to the elders and the leadership and be like evidence, and then we'll bring them here, and then we'll go to the swamp meetup spot and be like, look, here's a real bad guy, and it's all going to be cool, and then we'll put our CSI glasses on and it'll be great. So I drop the tiny hut and we get ready to leave, and daggers start flying out of the trees at us immediately, and we're like, ah! And there was Tabaxi, who had found our little hut and we're just waiting for us to leave. And they immediately hit Mako, Sumi, Glenn, and Nathaniel.
What
And we're
a
just like,
beautiful morning.
pam, pam, pam. 100%. So there's 5 tabaxis surrounding us now. Oops. And they won't listen to reason. Like, we're trying to tell them who Viper is, what we're doing, what's going on. There's bad cave over here. We have permission to be over here. And they're not listening to us. They're just constantly attacking us. So I tried casting Dispel Magic on them to see, like, maybe they're under a spell. This sounds sort of like when Viper's brother was compelled to kill when the lizard folk was compelled to kill Viper's brother, and Viper had to like fight back and kill him even though he didn't want to. So I tried
love.
Yeah, because they were in love, obviously. That makes it so much more tragic that he killed him. It's just like but anyway, I cast Dispel Magic on them, but it doesn't quite take. But I can tell there is a spell there, and the dispel that I cast just wasn't strong enough to do it. I rolled really poorly. But there's something there, obviously. This isn't of their own volition.
Sometimes I forget this is D&D, and I'm just like, what a great story.
I know.
You have such a good imagination.
My dice are cursed. Yeah.
I forget, like, this isn't completely 100% in your control. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Well, but it's not, because it's so much randomness.
Yeah, exactly. But in my head, I totally forget that.
Yeah, we'll take the credit. Totally. Yeah.
Okay, continue.
But we have to fight back because I can't break the magic, and they're trying to kill us. So we're trying to do non-lethal damage to just knock them out, because we don't want to have to kill them. They're probably good guys under all this. And we managed to capture and knock them all out. And you might remember, you won't remember, but we had taken manacles from the Yanti ages ago back in Havenport, and they're like, hey, now we have manacles. Okay. So that was handy, because we manacle and tie up these tabaxi that are around, and we are gonna just bring them with us back to Tall Trees, essentially, and be like, these guys attacked us, we need to figure out what's going on. And the last tabaxi, who someone was holding on to, they'd grappled him, and he was still conscious, sees that, like, we've got everybody, they're not going to be able to get away from us, essentially, and stabs themselves, like they killed themselves, and their dagger like flashed with this weird magical energy, like, what kind of thing. Yeah. And Mako notices that all their daggers have these runes on them, and they all have runes carved on their palms, matching the daggers. So we take all their daggers away because we don't want them having their daggers. That seems bad. And then we decide, well, maybe they can like verbally speak magic. So we gag them so they can't be like trying to cast magic. Or like the Yanti, I think, had like, I can't remember if they had rings or like poison teeth or something. There's a reason where we were gagging them. We're walking them back.
I didn't need to know that. Poison teeth.
I can't remember if that was accurate or if that's literally a scene from Captain America where Hydra is killing themselves rather than get caught. But maybe both. I don't know.
I don't imagine them being like, poison teeth. I just imagine being like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Pretty much. So we start walking back to Tall Trees, and one of them breaks free, but we managed to knock him out. Like, guys, it's just so much work. And Mako,
I'm so tired.
Right? We just woke up. We haven't eaten breakfast yet. So Mako casts Zone of Truth, because he's like, we need to figure out what's going on. We're going to question them. And they just keep saying that we were trespassing in the cave, and they were sent to get us, and that we were found through detect magic. The hut triggered detect magic, and that like we were trespassing. That's why they had to kill us, basically. So we knock them back out, and we go back to Tall Trees. And Viper goes up to bring his father down to like see this portion of evidence we've discovered, because something's going on here. And as we're waiting down at the bottom, Viper's gone up to the trees because he can climb faster than any of us. Mako notices that there are 2 more tabaxi up on the bridges in the trees that notice us, notice the tabaxi we're with, and just bolt. Like they're running. So we're like, guilty parties. Viper returns back with his father and some of his bodyguards. And, we show him the daggers and this evidence that we found. And he's pretty open to hearing what we have to say. I mean, he's hoping that we can find a way to prove his son's innocence, obviously. And Nathaniel hands him the diaries that he found to see if maybe he can recognize the handwriting or something. And it is Highwind's handwriting. The evil elder. It's him. So Highgrass is now convinced, like us, that Highwinds is a bad guy. And we all go find him. And before we do that, we're like, Highgrass, you need to check the palms of all your guards, because maybe all the bad guys have this carved on their palms. So everyone's checking everyone's palms. We don't find anyone else with creepy runes on their palms. So that's good. But people are, like, the people of the village, as we're walking through, are now starting to panic that Highgrass is going to lead them to a war. And Sumi, being very, perceptive, notices that the most vocal individuals in this panic have runes on their palms, and they seem to be instigators. So there's like secret hidden agents and bad guys all throughout this village. So,
but not so secret anymore, because they have such an identifiable.
Exactly.
It's
they
weird
really thought of
that no one was like, wonder what that's for.
I guess they just hide their palms. They're just like always like, hi. Oh my goodness. Clap. They don't show their palms to anybody.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we discovered a plot hole, but whatever.
Maybe they're all recent. Maybe they all yesterday they were like, let's carve in our palms.
Very well could be.
So we head to the big kind of central hut, to the meeting rooms, and we see the two tabaxi that Mako saw run away, chatting with Highwinds, and they're all talking to the other elders and the other leaders, probably spreading poison in their ears, metaphorically speaking. And sure enough, Highwinds is trying to convince them that Highgrass, Viper's dad, is the problem, and Highgrass like flips out on them, and we're like, yeah, go daddy. And so he's mad, and as the chief of the village can be mad and kick people out and stuff. Highwinds, however, doesn't have any markings on his palms, so that's confusing for our theory of them all being easily identifiable. But Highgrass convorts they convert together. No, Highgrass confronts Highwinds, and Highwinds is now realizing like he's caught. He's not going to be able to get out of this. It's pretty pretty over it at that point. And Sumi is starting to notice, she's just so perceptive, that Sumi, that he doesn't have anything on his palms, but he has very long sleeves, and as he like moves, there's writing on his arms. There's something going on under his sleeves. And as Viper goes to cast a spell on Highwinds, just to test a theory, I think, all these runes on Highwind's arms light up bright crimson. Yeah. And he starts fighting us. And so we go into an initiative round. And Highwinds is super hard to hit. He has tons of magic and summons more of those nasty blood elementals to start fighting us in this big hut. And I managed to dispel one of them, like right off the hop. Just, it's gone. So that was great. It dissipated. So now we're just fighting him in one of these blood elementals. Still gross. But the fight in the meeting room is now like spilling out of the building and onto these rope bridges of the village up high in the trees. And Fang and the other good guy leaders see what's going on and start helping to fight the elemental. They're like, okay, this is bad. Let's kill it, which is great. And they're fighting the other bad tabaxi because they've now identified themselves. Yeah. And at least we got people on our side. But Highwinds then mind controls Mako. And Mako starts attacking us and knocks out Glenn and stabs me. So we weren't thrilled, but I managed to revive Glenn. And I think Mako shook it off not long after. I'm reading ahead in my notes to see when, but he wasn't mind controlled for too terribly long. However, he did knock Glenn unconscious, I will say. And Sumi manages finally in this fight to kill Highwinds, to get the killing blow. And he starts like screaming and yelling, but his voice is like distorting and getting weird. And he starts full alien style, like rupturing and something is coming out of him. And there's like this giant, massive demon creature emerging from his body, trying to like push through almost a, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a film between the planes, like trying to push into our plane. So it's not fully here yet, but it's fighting real hard to get here. So now we're having to fight it, which is unpleasant.
Yeah.
And Nathaniel,
does it like debilitate high winds, or are you trying to fight both of them?
He's just a shell at that point. He's like a cocoon. Yeah, he gone. So at least we just have the one thing to fight. But Nathaniel pulls out that old leather tome, like the massive book of blood magic that he found, and the demon hisses at him, asking if he will take up the mantle. So this book is like some kind of key holding him here, and Nathaniel shoots the book with one of his magic, and the book itself starts to bleed, and the demon is freaking out. That was not the answer he was looking for. And so Nathaniel just keeps blasting the book as the demon is dragged back down away from our plane, and the book is like destroyed. And the remaining blood elemental now has to be fought, because every time it absorbs a creature that it's trying to suck dry, it grows. And so it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And now it's like taking up most of the meeting hut. It's like really giant. Basically, only Fang is left, but he's still fighting real hard. So we love Fang. But we all sort of come back now that we finished fighting that, and we're like, okay, fight the blood elemental now. And we all fight together. Mako's absorbed into it, but I managed to get the killing blow on it this time. So that was good. And then it just kind of oozes everybody out. So the people who aren't dead are still fine. And Mako was saved before it manages to kill him, which is very good. No, that
happens so quickly.
Yeah.
I don't know words
very
for it.
quick. And Fang is very happy to see us again. And we're happy to see him because we love Fang. And at this point, unfortunately, I'm out of Dispel Magic slots, which we need to go meet the lizard folk to kind of be like, look, we found your bad guy. This guy's innocent. But to do that, we were planning on using our evil magic water. And I would use Dispel Magic to kind of make whoever we had our test subject be go back to normal, sort of thing. Okay. But I'm out because that fight took a lot of my spell slots.
Yeah.
So thankfully, Glenn has a fancy ring that is going to basically give me a bonus slot. So he lends me a ring so that I can do that. And we take a short rest, and we're kind of just all hanging out, breathing hard in this meeting room that's just like been crushed from the fight that we just experienced. And High Grass rushes in with the other warriors, and we point out where High Winds is, and the leaders are now having a pretty intense conversation on the other side of the room. There's a lot of emotions going on there, obviously confusion and fear. And we one of the tabaxi that we fought over by the cave, we had to kill him. We weren't able to non-lethal, and we're like, how are we gonna excuse the fact that we killed somebody? But now we're in a room full of dead tabaxis. Glenn had put him in his bag of holding. So we just sort of pull him out and leave him with the other guys, which is terrible. But we literally staged his body to make it look like he died there.
Every time I'm like, oh yeah, you guys are really, moving past this dysfunction. There's always this like,
and then we staged a dead body.
But it's fine. I love it.
No one noticed us, so it was okay.
It's truly the best, most endearing parts of your group.
We were pretty amused at the time with it. But what else are we gonna do? We couldn't just keep a dead tabaxi in our bag of holding.
And you definitely couldn't own the fact that you killed him.
Well, no, they would get really mad at us.
Exactly. So let's stage the
even
dead
though
body.
He was a bad guy, and we all just finished killing a bunch of the bad guy tabaxi.
He gets to be dead with other people. So
exactly.
Well,
his loved ones will find his body. Yeah. So that was fine, I guess. And then we reconvene with the leaders outside the hut, and Viper kind of starts to explain what just happened to the crowd that has now gathered. And as he's doing that, Highgrass and Nathaniel are looking through the journals, and they find the names of villagers who were under blood magic. And now that all of this has happened, and like Highgrass has been High Winds has been killed, and the demon presumably has been, if not destroyed, taken away from having access to our plane. Only one of those people actually remembers anything from what happened during that period and like what they did and stuff. Everyone else, like, they were so mind controlled that they literally have no memories of it at all. So there's gonna need to be some therapy and stuff going on there, I'm sure. And then Glenn goes to go check on Elnora because, oh yeah, she's still here. Yeah. She's the reason we're on this continent.
You just stay here. Just we'll be right back.
Yeah. Yeah, we've literally just left her in the guest hut this whole time. She's been like knitting. I don't know. She's having a good time.
She wasn't doing so hot when you left her, right? She needed some rest time.
For sure. She needed it. But she's okay. So that's good. She had no idea what was going on, in fact. So awesome. She's not terrified once again. And now it's time to go convince the lizard folk that Viper's brother was not the problem. It was High Winds who was the problem. So High Winds, unfortunately, is already dead. So they're not going to be able to get their revenge on him. So hopefully that's not going to be a problem. But, you know, all the lizard folk in the village were like killed on High Wind's order. And he was working with the Yanti. And like, we have a lot of things against him that hopefully they will accept that he is their bad guy. And like, he poisoned the swamp bog and whatnot. We've got all of this outlined. We feel like we've answered all the questions. We have the stone and our magic bucket of water, so we can do a live demonstration. We have High Wind's body.
And so for my next trick.
Yeah, exactly. So we head out to meet the lizard folk in the clearing that evening. And as we arrive, there are some lizard folk leaders there already with the lizard folk person who we had met earlier that day, the day before. I don't remember. Time is wibbly wobbly. But I was made unwilling spokeswoman. So I had to tell, the lizard folk what had happened, outline our evidence, what we've discovered. And one of the lizard folk leaders volunteers as being willing to drink this water that we have and test it. And Viper is willing to be the punching bag. So, because we know what's going to happen. So we don't want to let an innocent person, per se, be the punching bag. So Viper lets it happen. Sure enough, lizard folk drinks the water, goes absolutely bonkers, eyes red and everything, and is just violently attacking Viper. Once it's very clear that he's not in control and is ignoring his fellow lizard folk leaders who are like, whoa, bro, stop. Then
chill.
Exactly. Just vibe, man. Once it's very clear that he's not in control, evil magic water, then I cast the dispel magic on him and he recovers himself, and everyone's very convinced. A truce is agreed upon, and Tall Trees hands over. This was his decision, not our decision. But Tall Trees decides to hand over the tabaxi, who remembered the blood magic, and I guess I didn't mention earlier, wasn't sorry about it. So definitely a bad guy. They hand him over. They're like, here's your victim.
Yeah, I didn't. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, exactly. And we head back to the village and have saved Viper's brother. Woo woo. And we go to bed because that was an exhausting day. And we level up to level 7. So that's exciting now because we like leveling up. So that gives everyone some extra spells and skills and hit points, which is important. And yeah, we sleep. The next morning, Viper and Mako Zone of Truth, the 2 remaining tabaxi who said they had no memory of being under the blood magic spell, and the Zone of Truth proves that yes, they were innocent. They weren't intentional about it. They had no choice, etc. So they are accepted back into the village as not being evil, which is good. And then I decide, hey, what if I cast dispel magic on this evil rock so that no one else can use the evil rock for evil purposes? And it works. And the rune is destroyed. And then Glenn straight up destroys the rock just in case there's some residual magic in it. So that's gone. It's good. And we're very happy that that's dealt with. But now we're kind of like, I guess we should get Elnora home because that's sort of why we're here. So we start getting ready, saying our goodbyes and stuff. Fang comes to say goodbye to us because he's leaving as well. The meeting that was happening at Tall Trees is over now. So he hopes to see us again and whatnot. And Sumi asks Fang if he's ever met or fought one of the fighters at the fighting pit back in Scarbia named Umbra, the Red Phoenix. And Fang saw him fight, but Umbra withdrew after his last fight because he'd won enough coin that he was looking for to go study in the Scarbia archives. So it's like he's doing fights to win the pot for the prize, whatever. I don't know what it's called. And then he just goes to like research stuff or something, whoever this dude is. And we're like, okay, cool, thanks, man. I don't remember if the rest of our party knows who Umbra is at this point. I don't think we do. So we're just like, Sumi, that's interesting that you're just asking questions about this random fighter. Okay, cool, whatever. Bye, Fang. So Fang gives us all very delicate hugs. And we start, getting ready to leave Tall Trees. Tall Trees gives us some food, some rations. And we head into the jungle once more onto the breach, my friends. Our first day is pretty uneventful. We pass a few groups of tabaxi, but they sort of all know who we are at this point, and we're okay. They let us go by. And we decide that the next day we're going to use one of our disguise kits to just disguise Elnora a little bit, because we still could run into some Yanti in the jungle. They still could be looking for Elnora and for us because they don't like having things stolen from them. So we disguise her a little bit just in case we run into anybody. We give her a few daggers, even though like she's a little rich girl, she doesn't really know how to use them, but best that she has something if in case she needs it, and lend her a cloak to hide herself under and whatnot, and carry on our way. And we spot these as we're going, these fancy mushrooms on a tree that essentially are very rare little mushrooms that work like little grenades. Oh. They just make little smoke bombs. And so we very carefully pluck, I think we got like 5 of them, and we can either sell them later for quite a lot of money because they're quite rare, or we can use them as little smoke grenades. Nice. So that was kind of fun. And their smoke emits like a poison smoke that could help us if need be at some point. Mm-hmm. So that was handy. And as we carry on, we head into this kind of like sort of swampy area, I guess, and are promptly set upon by some undead swamp creatures, which like typical. So we fight some undead swamp creatures, and Glenn thunderwaves some of them, which is a spell that pushes them away from him essentially while doing some damage. Good spell. However, he pushes them so that they're directly surrounding Brenna, and I was immediately knocked unconscious and poisoned and paralyzed.
Can you not see? I'm standing right here.
Glenn straight up killed me, man. Straight up killed me. So thankfully Nathaniel was able to get in and has some magic that was able to bring me away. And Mako was able to kill them, and then Viper gave me a healing potion. It was really a team effort here. And then Glenn also gave me a healing spell because he felt really bad. And Mako gave me a healing spell, and I was like, thanks, guys. I feel better than I did before we went into this fight. But I've never let Glenn forget the fact that he killed me. And I never will let him forget the fact that he killed me. So just in case.
Just dead, but she's alive. She's dead.
You killed me. Yeah. So that was a traumatic second day of travel. And I was mad at Glenn. I was refusing to walk near him and stuff like that. I was pretty pissy about it. And we're walking to the purpose. We're on a time crunch. We only have a few days because Mako's friends, whose ship that we had sailed here on, had promised to wait for us for a set number of days. And we're sort of nearing that. We should be able to make it in time, but we're going to have to move quickly, hence the intentionality. And as we're walking, we do run into some Yanti and manage to kill them, though. They don't prove too much of an issue.
I think you just go for a nice walk.
We just went a nice jungle walk without, dinosaurs and undead creatures and Yanti and, all the things that one finds in a jungle. So, in the fight with the Yanti, both Glenn and Nathaniel were knocked unconscious, which was a little touch and go there. We did manage to kill the Yanti and revive our friends, though, so that was good.
You good? No, you're not good.
Yeah. And as we're catching our breath from that fight, we can sort of hear like crashes moving towards us in the distance. Like there are groups moving, and we decide to like stealth on a little bit. Like clearly we shouldn't stay here. Something's coming. So we stealth away, and we miss managed to avoid like 5 other Yanti hunting parties. They're all like combing through here. So thankfully we're sneaky enough to get past them. And past a herd of stegosauruses, like you do. And
right, the stegosauruses.
The casual stegosauruses. And then we take a rest. We're sort of concerned that, after fighting those undead, we probably all have the plague. Because with them being undead, they probably had the plague, and that's how they died. And so we're probably all infected now, which isn't great. But, what you gonna do about it? So we don't, at this point, the infections, if we have them, aren't obvious enough that we know who's sick, and none of us have strong enough magic to be able to heal them if we are sick, which is the whole reason of like why we, made the bad deal with Yolanda and gone to see the churches when Mako got sick, because it's really expensive to get the healing spells you need. So we're just like, cool, we're probably all gonna die in like any moment, but whatever.
And you still haven't even killed the person to pay for the first.
I know. And we still haven't killed the Oni that Yolanda wants us to kill. That's why the others have slugs in their guts. So we're like, great. Right. Our lives.
There's so much stuff going on.
Yeah, but at least the blood magic's done now.
What happens if like a character gets depressed and they're just like, I can't do this anymore. I can't.
I mean, a player could choose to retire that character prematurely. And
I can't go on. I can't go on.
Have therapy for a while they played a different character.
There's just so much going. So overwhelmed.
It's a lot over here on Shanusa. Yeah.
How do you keep track of everything?
Detailed notes. And also, this summary is multiple sessions.
Yeah. I guess if there wasn't so much going on, though, it wouldn't be as like, and then we got it, and then we got it, and then we got
sort of like so much of it is because we're being presented with a lot of options. It gives us more of the illusion of choice. Like, obviously, a game master is kind of guiding the story a little bit with what they offer you to kind of grab the loose threads of and follow. We've chosen to follow a lot of those threads.
Ooh, what's that?
But
you all have severe ADHD.
More of the illusion of choice.
Oh yeah, let's do that. Okay, let's do that.
So it's our fault.
That's fine. I find it entertaining.
So, we have our existential crisis that we probably all have the plague, and carry out and start to hear these slow, like plodding footfalls ahead of us. And I'm like, well, that doesn't sound like Yanti, so we'll just proceed with caution. And we come to a clearing with a pond and see a giant tortoise shell with painted window panels and a door where a head should be.
We've seen this before.
We have. And as we approach, Glenn and Brenna see it and go, nope, and turn around and walk back into the forest, because that's Yolanda's tortoise. That's Yolanda's hut. And we don't want to deal with her. So we literally grab Elnora and we're like, nope, we're not going in there. We're heading through. But Sumi, Viper, Mako, and Nathaniel are like, let's go chat with Yolanda. So Nathaniel So I'm told, or yeah, Nathaniel suggests to them, it might be in her best interest to give us a ride back to Scarbia because she's got this job she really wants us to do. So if she gets us back, works out for her, kind of thing. So like, sure, fair. I'm not going into her creepy tortoise hut. It is what it is. So they go in. Glenn and Brenna continue sulking outside with Elnora. And shortly afterward, Viper storms out and says Yolanda wanted his charm and then she would help us. And we're like, what does that even mean? Out of game, he would have lost some of the score for his charisma. So he would have been less persuasive, less deceptive, and all those kind of things. But he's not down with that. So he refused. And Mako and Sumi then call the rest of us inside shortly afterwards. And, Glenn and I begrudgingly come a little closer. And
I take it you've forgiven Glenn for killing you at this point.
Well, an enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of thing at this point. So we're here for Elnora. And they've arranged a ride to Scarbia, and Yolanda's gonna heal Glenn because apparently he has the plague, and one of the three who was inside did as well, and she's gonna heal them. So she'll heal the 2 people who are infected and give us a ride. So there's some back and forth thing to be fully convinced here. We decide, okay, we'll go in, and just to be a pest, I shapeshifted to look exactly like Yolanda before going in, just to be a bit of a dick about it. And Yolanda's like, oh, hi, Brenna. Basically doesn't care at all, but I enjoyed it. And
I feel better with this decision.
Exactly. I felt better about it, yeah. This was actually Glenn's first time inside Yolanda's hut. Oh. I had been inside, like, way back in Scarbia the first time.
Okay.
And then I had refused to go in the last time when the slug situation happened.
Yeah.
And Glenn has never gone inside. So he was a little creeped out because the inside's a little creepy. But Yolanda...
He's like, why are we back here again?
Yeah.
Why? This is nuts.
Yeah. So Yolanda puts her hands on Glenn's shoulders, kind of like around his head a little bit. And her fingers like tighten and creep around his head as she's like casting the spell to take the plague away from him. Super creepy and disgusting. She's definitely a hag of some kind. We don't love her. And Sumi and I
like that.
No, Sumi and I shield Elnora because we're like, Elnora doesn't need to see this happening. And Glenn is healed of phantom eyes, which is the one that comes on really quickly and makes people like hallucinate, and it's the one that happens fastest. Like as soon as you have it, you're gone within like 48 hours. So it's actually
that was one you first thought because you were on the boat being like, we got it, because this one.
No, Mako didn't have phantom eyes. I don't have my notebook with me. I don't remember when he had, because that one comes on too fast. We were on the boat for weeks, so if he'd had phantom eyes, he would have been dead.
Okay, but it was one of the ones you were still racing the clock, right?
It's still the others. You have to deal with them quickly, but phantom eyes, like, you have a day or two.
Okay,
very fast. So,
but no symptoms.
No, like as soon as you have symptoms, you've got 24 hours till you're dead. Basically.
Okay.
Yeah. So he was healed of that, which I guess is good. Thanks, Yolanda, maybe. And then...
I mean, it's not bad.
No, it's not bad. But
as of right now,
any deal with Yolanda feels like she's always getting more out of it,
Yes.
So then we found out what she was getting out of it, because Nathaniel hands her the ruined blood magic tome. And Brenna was like, this seems like a really bad idea. But the deal was already done, and nothing I could say could persuade anyone otherwise. So now
you still have it.
I don't, because Nathaniel's Nathaniel. And then he gave it to Yolanda, so she has this creepy ass blood magic tome.
Everyone's leaving the hut. They're like, oh, we survived. And Nathaniel's like, I'll just keep that.
Yeah, pop it in my pocket for later.
Maybe it'll be handy later on. I don't know why, but for some reason I want it.
So once again, terrible idea to give that to Yolanda. I definitely think that's going to come to bite us in the butt sometime, and we're all going to die because of it. But
it's gonna be something that Nathaniel knew the whole time. He's like, but you guys didn't ask. You just didn't ask.
Yep, it is. So keep in mind, all this happened over a year ago. So there's so much now context I have that I cannot share. But yep.
I'm excited to see what I get right in the future.
Yeah. So Nathaniel hands her the evil tome, and then Sumi leads us out of the tortoise again, and suddenly we're back in Scarbia without having seemingly moved at all. We're just in the marketplace. So we head on out and give Yolanda the one-fingered salute and head on our way. And I'll give us a pause there so that we don't have to carry on for too long for forever today. But yep, there we are.
So I didn't feel as freaked out, but that was a series of so many unfortunate things.
Yeah.
Good. I mean, you made it out the other end, but
and it worked. Like we did what we set out to do, which was good. Well, in terms of saving by perception.
I mean, Eleonora is still not.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but we have her back in town. We're getting her to the boat, and then we get her home. So we're
alive,
very much,
and you're trying.
Yeah, exactly. We should get credit for trying.
I mean, that's pretty much the only thing you'll get credit for this whole time.
Yeah,
because you just keep trying, but bad things happen because you're trying.
We successfully did our CSI crime in our sunglasses and
goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So there you go. Would you like to sum up the session for us?
Well, once again, the notes are just whatever they choose to be. But
I love the notes.
So you're on the path.
Yeah.
The trap, the blood monsters. Yeah. It's a lot of unexpected, but also you guys didn't really try.
Very expected. We just weren't thinking. Yeah.
You find a death lab.
Yeah.
A lot happens there. You find a lot of maybe I wasn't as creeped out because I just didn't take notes for that.
Probably wise, to be honest.
It's generalized in the death lab scene.
Yeah.
You get back to Tall Trees. Well, after no, you don't get back. You're trying because you're like, okay, but then there's the knife attack, the dagger attack, the fighting, and then you're like, there's also magic, all this stuff you're trying to decipher.
Yeah.
Then you figure out that for sure high grass is bad news. Mm-hmm. There's the hut situation, the fight, in the meeting.
Yeah.
A lot happens.
Yeah.
Then you're like, okay, well, we've kind of figured out we have enough evidence to be like, see?
Yeah. Believe us, please.
Yeah. You go to prove innocence of Viper's brother to the leaders at the meeting. There's some, exchange of info, a demonstration.
Yeah.
If you make it out, and it's pretty good. You did what you set out to do.
We were proud of ourselves, to be honest.
Like,
we gathered a good list of evidence there. And apparently we didn't even get a ton of the evidence that was planted that we could have found.
Oh.
After the fact. There was so much else. And I remember this was so long ago, but I remember our DM being like, there were some choices you guys made that I was not expecting you to make it all, but it worked out, but not what I had planned for, kind of thing. So there was other stuff that we're where could we have missed something? But there was more. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, deservedly so. You guys all leveled up because of all of that. So then you get back on track, essentially.
Yeah.
To try to finish what you originally started to do.
Yeah.
You go back out on the road. back on the road again.
On the road again.
You do there's some encounters, some foraging, some, little things along the way just to make it interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
But then I wrote brief deadness.
Yeah.
There was a brief period.
Casual deadness.
A brief period of deadness. But you get through that, you personally.
Yeah.
You encounter Yolanda. Yolanda again, and you decide like I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
But you get kind of not tricked, but like roped in to being like, okay, there was we don't know. I don't know yet. But there was some kind of sneaky, but very obvious, like, why is this happening? Exchange of goods. Yeah.
I still don't have a full story on that even, because it I only take notes on what my character knows, what Brenda knows, and nothing of that situation in the time remaining has ever been shared with Brenna. So still have no more information on what that is. And that's spoiler alert, we haven't run into Yolanda again.
Well, that's
since then.
But yeah,
so she's just buying for time to, crush the world in blood magic. No big deal.
That you know of. Maybe it's all happening and you're just unaware.
For real.
So Nathaniel does some Nathaniel stuff. I think it's not even, because you don't know if it's bad or good or sneaky intentionally. He's just doing stuff.
Yeah. What a guy.
Glenn is healed from the plague that he didn't know he had. So there's benefits there. Everyone, I guess, it is a beneficial interaction, and you make it back to the town, the port town, right? It's a port town.
Yeah. Yeah. So our boat is at the ports just outside of town. Yeah.
And that's the next because you have people waiting for you that they would give you a ride. So that's the goal. That's the plan.
But keep in mind, 3 of our party, can't remember, have slugs and can't leave the continent.
Right. Slugs. And you have to kill somebody.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a ride for Yolanda or for Elnora to get home. That's our main goal at this point. We aren't expecting to leave the continent because we have to go deal with that guy. But we need to get Elnora home.
The goal is multi-layered.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a 9-layer dip, It's important to have all the layers.
You got to get all of it in there.
All the layers.
So there's a lot, right? The slugs. Every time I'm like, oh, right, the slugs every single time.
They're so gross. I'm so glad I did not go in and get a slug put in my body.
In this conversation, I keep being like, oh, the slugs. Okay, so the slugs, right. So there's still actually a lot to do.
There's still a lot to do before we can go home. Havenport is only home for Glenn, but our continent, we're still on a totally different continent.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're really nowhere closer, really.
Yeah, sort of.
We checked
off one goal, but we still have lots.
Yeah, you've done multiple things, but only one of those things was actually intentional.
Yeah. I mean, we were in Tall Trees, we were expecting to stay there for a while. We just weren't expecting to solve a murder while we were there.
You didn't expect the crime scene investigation episode to happen.
Yeah.
Okay, well, but at least I'm glad that is has a definitive end, seemingly. Yeah. There was some residuals, but yeah.
And getting Elnora off the continent, then there's a little less concern with being caught out by Yanti and stuff, because hopefully they didn't see us super clearly.
Yeah, but we never know.
We never know. Yeah.
Well, that was exciting. I'm glad that we're, that much closer to catch up, and I'm glad that everyone's still alive. Despite the brief deadness.
Yeah. It was quite a few brief deadnesses today.
Well, when you're saying Mako, he got sucked in, and I was like, doesn't that mean...
absorb people like a giant jello and just be jelloing around, sucking people's blood.
That's in Spirited Away. There's the big
Spirited Away.
It's my least favorite one. It's everyone's favorite one. It's literally, as far as I know, majority of people, they're like, oh, Spirited Away is my favorite one.
Yeah.
It's my least favorite one. But in saying that, it's not terrible. But there's this big, like, I can't remember. That's how much it's not my favorite. I don't remember the names. But there's this big thing.
Yeah.
And he like, and then there's a part where it's no longer inside of him anymore.
Oh, there you go.
So,
no spoilers.
No spoilers. But you should watch it. I mean, there's better ones you should watch first, but
I'll watch Howl's Moving Castle for, the 4th or 5th time.
No, you gotta watch Ponyo and all the other ones first. But Howl's Moving Castle is great.
It is. Yeah.
But anyways, exciting.
Oh, I should show you. I recently got a mini for Brenna at last for when we're playing on maps in person. So sorry to podcast listeners, but video listeners, I've got a little Brenna here with a violin because Brenna plays a little fiddle.
He's so cute.
I picture Brenna wearing like a layered skirt dress situation, but I couldn't find any minis with that. So this mini is wearing pants, but she's got like a fun jacket cape on and her sword. Yeah. So it's so fun.
That's awesome.
Brenna has a rapier that she uses, but yeah, she's not very good at it, but she wants to be a pirate, so it's important to have a sword when you're a pirate. So yeah.
That's awesome. It must be nice to have.
And I've got 2 dice since we recorded. Yeah, it is. Because we have often, when we played games, our DM brings like generic ones that we can use. So either minis or like little papers on stands. So we always have something we can use, but it is nice to have something. Your character, sort of.
Yeah, you picked it.
Yeah, exactly. I got 2 new dice since we last chatted as well.
Well, I'm definitely gonna vote using the new dice, and definitely for sure 100% gonna vote mini.
The mini, yeah. Okay, so for podcast listeners, one of these is like a kind of, what would you call this? Grays and purples and blues paint swirly type. Yeah. That's a standard style dice. And then one of them is like a turquoisey teal with some copper and white accent swirls that's literally like almost half the size. Like it's mini. It's tiny. We love it. Okay.
But you mentioned really briefly, very quickly, that your dice are still not working so great. Is that?
Yeah. They're hit and miss. They've been rolling okay for Kaylin. They haven't been rolling great for Brenna. So, but I've played Kaylin more recently, so we'll see if the turnaround is sticking.
Okay.
I also play Brenna tomorrow, as of recording. So we'll see. Come on, baby dice. Nope. That's that's a 5.
No, I was literally gonna say it can't be lower than a 6.
That's because 3. That's a 7.
We've never done best out of 3.
And that's a 6. Whoa, that's weird.
So,
oh no, it's a 9. I read it upside down.
Either way,
all of those are under 10.
It's all bad. We've never, like, since restarting, it's never gone above a 10.
It's been so low.
Or maybe it was 11.
I should roll all of my dice at once. And
no, I feel like that's bad.
No, it's important to do. I have so many dice now.
This is a great dice reset.
Dice reset. This is going to be loud because I'm rolling on a hard surface. I apologize. We have a 10, a 5, a 7, a 6, a 6, an 18, an 8, a 7, a 5, a 14, a 2, a 10, and an 18. So that was majority under 10 for sure. But the 2 18s are pretty solid.
Yeah, but it's weird that they're the same. I don't know, but some
yeah.
Maybe
whenever I get duplicates, it's weird. We have 2 6s, we have 2 5s, 2 18s, and that's all the duplicates. No, 2 7s.
I was gonna say 7.